get back into it. All right. So one thing I slipped up on is I actually didn't share my screen with the recording. So yeah, you guys are gonna have to be strong for that first for that video. But yeah. All right. So okay, that's set up. Let's proceed with our slides. So, so we ended off on investment decisions. Okay. So what was the first thing that we spoke to? Forecasting, right? And planning. The second key or core thing, the second core thing is investment decisions. Okay. When we think investment, what are we actually talking about? All right, we're not necessarily talking all those kinds of things that we do on the stock market and stuff like that. But we're basically saying where are we going to apply our funding? Where are we going to put our money? Okay? A financial manager needs to ensure that funds are managed in such a way they become available as and when needed, okay, by the organization. Okay? So here you can begin to see how that planning and forecasting is then being used in their investment. Okay. In other words, the financial manager needs to determine what short, medium term, and long term investments are required to achieve regular returns. So, in other words, how are we going to know that we have long term, medium term, and short term? We need to plan, we need to forecast. Okay, that this is what our needs are. Okay, short term typical needs. We're talking about working capital. All right, which we will learn about in Unit 3. Um, and then we're also talking about inventory. We're also talking about trade and other receivables, and then obviously trade payables. All right, those are the typical things. In other words, um, when you with your trade receivables, that's another word for your debtors. Okay, your debtors form part of your working capital. Inventory, we obviously need our working capital, our cash, some cash in the business readily available so that you can actually buy stuff, right? So that you can actually buy bottles where we're actually going to put our alcohol into, okay? Or if we're to use the example of a grocery store, all right, you need working capital so that you can go and buy our tomatoes so that you can put them on shelf. Itself, okay? So that's our inventory in that scenario, okay? Then medium term to long term, all right? Here we're looking at specific projects, okay? Where we say, okay, maybe for example, a very simple example, we could say we're going to invest in a marketing campaign, okay, over social media, okay, right? And we're going to throw in human resources to that, okay? We obviously then need to plan when will this project begin? So how much will we need? Right? Who's going to give us the services? And we need to make sure that the cash is available and ready for when we actually begin that medium to long term project. Okay? Right. Then key investment decisions include, all right, whether to take a new project, take on a new project, all right, invest in new or sell old property, plant, and equipment. This is basically your non-current assets. Okay. By in finance, somebody said we're running away from accounting. That's not what I was saying that I wanted to do. In finance, we assume that you still have that knowledge. Okay. Some things you're not even going to jump into. Okay. Such as calculating cost of cost of sales and things like that. Okay. Obviously, we're giving the focus, but there's something we don't even actually begin to highlight. We assume you have that knowledge for your purposes. Okay. So I hope you will be able to recall that information. Because we also don't have time to cover everything. So you may just be presented. Okay. So as I was highlighting, property, plant, and equipment, we're talking to assets. Okay, machinery and things that we may need in the business. Okay. We obviously are investing in those things at time to time. When we say What is a fancy way to do it? When it becomes obsolete, you need to reinvest in another machine. Okay? And then also embark on research and development. Okay? If you were running an investment firm, right, one of the reasons why it's hard to necessarily be there as an individual were actually buying and selling shares. So if you want to say you like to do that, one of the reasons why your performance in terms of buying shares and might not be as good as an IPO or a CSP, because CSP and IPO have a huge team of individuals who actually do research. And if you were that team, you have one person who will use a certain bank and financial industry skills. Another person who focuses on, what can I say? There are only companies, or there could be possibly consumer goods, all right? Another person who focus on alcohol, all right? And so forth, so forth, so forth. Because that person is going to focus on that, they know the industry inside out. Live with one person, all right? So it's hard for you to obviously do as much research in those different spaces. So they are obviously going to perform a whole lot better than it looks like. So research and development is actually a very important department, all right? And even stepping out of that role is basically in terms of supporting investment firm where people have paid on the KSC and so forth. Within your industry, this is something that you want to invest in. So, for example, if you look at Apple and you look at Samsung, I'm sure you guys will agree with me that those guys have research and development too. Okay? And why would it be important? Why would it be important for them to have research and development? Right. Why should be the benefit? Creating new products, better products. At the end of the day, no other competition with you. All right? In the past, you guys may have heard of scenarios where Apple was suing Samsung and saying you guys are stolen our design and stolen our IP and things to that effect. Right? You need to know also what are the customers, what are the customers appreciate. People like bigger phones. So what are we going to do? Make bigger phones. How are you going to know that if you're not doing any research? Right? If we're not sending out any surveys, if we're not creating any small little panels, customer panels, I don't know what they call them in marketing and stuff like that. But you get those panels together and they actually sit down with the PlayStation and they actually play with it before the PlayStation 5 actually arrives. I know it's out now, right? All right? There's a panel of people or even grown adults, because I mean, for my age, right? Grown up people of my age. But that's the whole point. How do you make it appealing to people like myself and appealing to kids? Because if they only make it appealing to kids, guess what? They lose out on another market. Now, obviously, you want to sell the product as to as many people as you possibly can. So that means more money for you. How do you do that without research and development? You can't. Okay. And then investing in marketing and advertising. Guys, you can have the best product in the world. But if you don't have marketing or advertising, why is it a problem? People are not aware. Nobody knows that you're selling airport now. Nobody knows that you're custom designing these lovely things. Nobody knows. So even though they have the money, they're not going to buy the product. So you see, so communication via marketing and advertising, critical. All right, then embarking on mergers, acquisitions, and divestment of our company. Who knows what's that all about? Somebody tell me. You don't really understand that. There's nobody to yourself. We're talking to that. Talking. What? Yeah. to go in process, merging, coming together, even on Excel. You guys have all played around with Excel, right? When you merge cells, what happens? It come together. And why would you merge? The conversation. It could be more possible. An example, we have A, B, and Z with the SAT. SAT, yes. Before it was just the SAT, And then that was actually the biggest, it's the biggest deal on the globe. You know that, right? Yeah. Okay. And I think it was the biggest acquisition here. I don't know if it's across the world. Could be. I'm not sure. But it could be. All right. So that's what mergers is all about. Acquisition is literally just I'm going to buy your company. That's what it is. Okay. And then you have divestments. What is that all about? What is that all about? Depending on it, depending on it. Sometimes it's not actually giving up. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Like Woolies, for example. Right? Woolies, they bought the South Korean, a clothing brand. David Jones, okay? A clothing brand in Australia. Alright? And what happened with that? There's no one. And what did they end up saying? That's that. Let's cut our ties. We're making losses here. Alright? So strategically it makes sense. I'll give you guys another example. Interior. What does interior do? Somebody first. Interior. Yes. Interior. What am I doing? Uh-huh. Right? But the core business, that's the core business. And now, what has happened with Imperial is they used to do business in Europe. But guess what happened? They're like, I cut out here. And now they're saying we're going to focus on Africa. So they sold that off. Alright? Sometimes it just makes more business sense to actually just focus your energy. And especially now, because everybody does not have as much cash as they used to. Particularly in logistics, because logistics is about transporting stuff. How people transporting stuff is not the solution. Not easy. Right? And there was a huge slowdown last year, last year was a whole lot more. Things are slowly kind of, bouncing back to some degree. But anyway, that's what it is. Sometimes it might not even be that we're struggling. Sometimes it just makes more business sense to sell this off to another company. All right? It's as simple as that. Cool. Financial decisions. Okay. So here, literally, obviously, as financial manager, now that we know what we planned, we forecasted, we know our investments, what we're going to invest in, when, if it's a short-term investment, long-term investment, we know that. Now we need to make decisions. One of the key decisions that we need to make is how are we going to finance? How are we going to finance these investments? How are we going to ensure that we have capital to ensure that we have the money required to cater to our expenses? How are we going to do that? Are we going to do that through good cash management? In other words, just we make sales, we use the money that we generated by our sales to take care of our strategy. Take care of any other expenditure of our or I was going to go to the and say, hey, we need some money. What is it going to be? And in making those decisions, we need to ask ourselves the question, which financial option is more safe? So we can go into the experiment for example, 01 and be like, good afternoon. And go look at our financial and say, actually, this is and That means that you're going to be paying this on an annual basis. That's what interest is. The payment for money that you pay. Yeah. So you might give me $10 and that's me. Okay. But guess what? You're going to charge me interest for that, right? And I might end up paying $12. So would it not have been better for me to actually just use my salary to find whatever I want to do with the $10,000? Because I'm not going to pay interest on my salary. All right? So those are the considerations that you need to ask. But at the same time, I then need to ask myself, yeah, how long will it take me to pay this? The question that I have. Right? Okay, and also the other question is, let's say I actually want to use the 10,000 to invest in a ship that I totally believe in the culture. All right, and the opportunity is now. And I believe I'll actually make a usual return, let's say 15,000. But the whole point is, if I'm going to make 15,000, let's say 15,000, like it, but let's say 15,000, tell me, should I take 10,000? Should I have 12,000? You say no? What did you say? Huh? Uh, so he's willing to borrow me 10,000. I have to pay her back 12,000. But I'm going to invest the money in something that's going to give me 15,000. Should I take the 10,000 from her? Or not? As a financial manager, what is it? What are the key things that people do? Wealth maximization and profit maximization. Yes, I've created a liability, right? But when I get my 15,000, I'm going to give her a 12,000, and guess what? We have a 3,000, right? Is that not including the contribution? Very good. But it's about the principle that I'm trying to explain. So should I, or should I not? You tell me. You should, yes. Okay? Now I'm not trying to, make you guys start taking it. But I'm just trying to emphasize the point that these are the type of decisions that you need to make. Assessing the risk as well. We're going to learn about that. Assessing the risk. Are we really going to manage to make this 15,000 or not? What's the likelihood? You need to look into that. Okay. Right, but let's move on. All right, so here, financial negotiation. So when we go to F&B or APSA or whoever, we need to negotiate. Say, look, our business is doing what? Despite the economic impact. Why do you want to charge us a huge interest? Because commission is also accommodate risk. So if we're not that risky, why are you charging us a huge interest? You should be charging us something along the lines of 9%. Right? That's your job as a financial manager. Okay? We have already sold certain inventory. You hear the contract. So your money is coming back. Why do you want to charge me so much? Okay? All right? That's your job. All right, and then cash management. Obviously, this is, remember what we said, you need to control. She's got an event, all right? She's running the event. She's not spending the money wisely. You almost fired her, but you said, okay? You need to obviously manage. Right? Then relationships. So this is speaking negotiation. Relationships. We manage relationships with philosophy. Our shareholders. Right now, this is currently climate. I heard that firms that invested in paid dividends. Wow. Our infrastructure. All right. But their primary business is finance. All right. So the financial sector, I think, might, I don't know for it. Their share prices actually went up. So things like AXA, Standard Bank, they actually went up. And I think the reason being is that because interest rates are low right now, and everybody knows, a lot of people are saying, this time is about high. You probably are feeling very confident that you'll have the rest of your time if you're getting but yes, also from the business side, because interest rates are low, it means that financing is cheap. So therefore, people are saying, because people borrow money. It's cheap. Let me say it's cheaper than what it typically would be in a normal economy. Does that make sense? Does that really? Okay. So, where was I going? Where was I going with this? uh, right. Oh, so I think I was going in the direction of shareholders. Yes, our first line is the dividend. And a lot of other companies who aren't doing so well are actually saying, this year we're not actually going to pay that dividend. We're going to actually keep this money in the business. So dividends is the return to the shareholders. Does that make sense? You guys have given me your millions, now you're expecting a return. You're not giving me your money. You're not putting capital in the business. You're expecting a return. Right? As a financial manager, it's not just fair. I will pay you, we made, let's say we made 7 million in profit. I will say, we will pay out 2 million in dividends. Right? So that we can use the 5 to fund other business activities in the year that comes. Does that make sense? I can also say, we're not going to pay anyone. Because we want to make sure that we keep our funds to make sure that we have money in case of any other economic events that take place. Does that make sense? So you issuing a dividend speaks to how confident you are about it. Because the other thing is that shareholders like when they receive a return. Because they put money in it. Does that make sense? So when you pay dividends, actually, there'll be other people who will say, actually, I think it's time to invest in this one because it's to be money. You know, it makes sense. They're giving out money, right? So it's something that a lot of people encourage. Long life money. All right. So anyway, now here we're talking about relationships. So you need to have a good relationship with shareholders. You need to have a good relationship with obviously other crucial stakeholders, managers, and so forth. All right. If we have a horrible relationship, am I going to release funds with her? Am I going to be able to say, I think you're spending too much? Right? It would be hard to have it. So you need to have those manage those relationships as such. Banks, we obviously already spoke to negotiation in terms of interest rates and getting money from them. Then we have um, regulatory bodies. Here we're talking about SARS, for example. Right? Um, they will say, this is how much you guys owe us in tax. And I need to be able to say, no, I think you have 1 or 2 figures wrong. This was our actual cost. Right? You need to manage that relationship. Okay. Sometimes you don't have money to pay off what you owe us. You need to be able to say, look, we can't pay you all this right now, but you can do it over 6 months. So if you can do it in an installment fashion, you'll get the money. And believe it or not, they are open to such discussions. They'd rather have money in 6 months than not have it at all. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. These are the things. Not rocket science. Investors. All right. There might be a strategic opportunity, and somebody is executing it. So they're saying, okay, we'll give you the money. You have to have this type of relationship in place. All right. And then they're talking to other stakeholders. All right. We spoke about stakeholders on Wednesday. I think those were Tuesday. The Wednesday. Employees, customers, etc. etc. All right. Right. If you don't have money to pay salaries, you need to be able to explain why. So it's very awkward conversation. Probably one you never want to have. Then dividend decisions. We spoke about dividends. Okay. So I'm sure all of you now know what dividends are. It's the return you receive as a shareholder, or you could say as an investor in the business. Okay. Or providing more capital. Okay. All right. And if we know that we're not going to get a dividend, you need to tell me why I'm not getting a return in that specific year. Okay. You could tell me that, look, I could give you a dividend, but the problem is that if I give you a dividend, I know what do you do? What is dividend? For the business to continue to exist. Huh? Yeah. And then people also say, okay, that's cool. We can hold on to our money, but when you start paying dividends, you need to ensure that you pay a high dividend because it's inflation. All right. So we need a higher return on our investment. Okay. Cool. So that's all about dividends. You guys can read through all of this stuff. Okay. We also speak to retained earnings. I know you guys did 1G. In 1G, we also spoke about retained earnings, right? Okay. In is it corporation or CC? Yeah. Eh? Yeah. Okay. Then risk management. We spoke about risk management. Okay. Risk. Now, the reason why risk is so important to manage is because the reality is, I'm sure you guys have heard the saying, without risk, there is no reward. You guys coming what? You will fail. It's a reality. It's a reality. Right? There's some people who alright, the reality is you will fail. So the money that has been put into this endeavor might be lost. It might be low return. But what is the reward? Your parents can get rid of you. So then you can get out the house. And get a job. Right? So that's a huge reward for them. That's not okay. So you guys another thing. But anyway, you know this stuff. All right. But yeah, I'm just trying to show you. So you guys actually decided to manage that risk. You said, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to try to keep you. So you said, all right. So I would know because I tell you this, right? Yeah, I know it, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Look, I'll tell you guys, as I was saying, as long as you make sure you understand, and you know, and then you're fine. You'll be fine. It does take work. Might not necessarily be easy, all right, because we all learn at different places and stuff like that. But if you put in the effort, trust me, you'll get it. Okay? What I can tell you is more important than how smart you are. Now, and you guys get to know, you're almost but even if you are a human, guess what? You don't have to study. You might not do well. I know you can. Which is why I tell you to do the module outlay, because then you can then begin to formulate a strategy. Okay, test one is on this date in April, right? How much time do I have to prepare for that? Okay, I know it's unit one and unit two. What do I need to do to make sure that I'm not by that time? Can you see? Strategy. You just wake up and wait for sir to tell you. I don't even know in test one. But guess what? I'm not. I wrote my test one. I'm tired. I mean, you just try it. You come up with strategy. I'm just trying to encourage you guys to say, look, I get it. You're 100% right. There's some people who are strong in certain areas and weak in some areas. Give me two tough areas. Numbers is not. type of thing. Okay? But I go and sit down with somebody who's good at you and I say, how did you do it? How did you do it? Of course, they tell you. But anyway, let's move on. So risk needs to be managed. All right. We don't want to run away from risk completely. Because if we don't incorporate any risk, guess what? We'll have no return. And remember, our objective as financial managers is to try and generate a return for our shareholders. That's our goal, to maximize their wealth, to maximize profit. Okay? So if we say, no, we're just going to duck and dive from risk entirely, then there's going to be no reward. We want to either mitigate it, eliminate it, reduce it, but sometimes you can't completely get rid of risk. Okay? So once again, strategy is important there as well. Then here they're just talking to ethical considerations of financial managers, right? Guys, I'm sure we've heard of things like Enron. More recently, there's the guys who own, what is this thing called? Pep stores. What's that company? Germany is actually suing their CEO. Yeah, they've actually pressed charges against him. It begins with an S. Steinhoff. Look into the Steinhoff situation. Like Enron, their financials, just something else. Okay? It's actually one of the biggest financial schemes in South African history. And apparently, what do they call it? The scorpions. They don't have the finance to investigate the situation. Yeah. Is it the Hawks? It's the Hawks now. They changed it to Hawks, right? Yeah. My bad. All right. But the Germans have said, hey, the CEO, because they were obviously operating in other countries as well. So they pressed charges against him. Okay? I'm sure not just him alone. All right. So yeah, ethics, guys. Ethics. If I hear one of my students is now doing a high, what will you teach them? All right, and then we're almost done. So here they're also just speaking further to ethics. All right. In understanding business decisions, a financial manager should consider the impact of their decisions. Okay. So we can't just be thinking profit maximization, wealth maximization, at the expense of our ethics. What will be the impact of our decisions? Will there still be a business 5 years from now if we do the things that we want to engage in? All right. Is it the best decision? Some decisions might actually yield huge returns, but in the long term, they're not favorable to shareholders. Like this kind of situation, all right? It's not favorable to shareholders now, all right? I think they almost went bankrupt. I'm actually surprised they actually out, there's something to salvage there. How shareholders' rights will be and then, all right, relationship with okay, nothing exciting here. But yeah, I'm sure we all know there's a difference between what is legally permissible and what is ethical. Okay? It might be ethical, it might be legal for us to pay very small wages. It might be legal. Okay, but when we look at the salary that we will pay towards somebody in his role, right? Then there's no English. And that is what they actually pay for. And we say that so are we being ethical? There's a question we have to ask. And I'm just using that as an example. When it comes to ethics, there's so many ways. Because even with our customers, we could use very, very poor quality that might actually compromise their health. That's what we're doing. Right? If our customers are having a big rashes and things like that as a result of the stuff that we use, it might be legal for us to use the overhead. Right? let's take note of that. Let's take note of that. That might be legal, might not necessarily be ethical. Okay. So as managers, as financial managers, we have a responsibility to be ethical. Okay. Then there's the agency problem. Again, we love this thing. We love this thing. So make sure you understand what is the agency problem. The agency problem is the financial manager may have a conflict. All right, the financial manager could be conflicted by their own personal objectives. I know if I maximize profit, if I maximize wealth, guess what I'm going to get? A bonus. Remember we spoke about reward, performance reward. Now you as the owner, I might go and do something unethical because I want my bonus. All right, or I'm scared I might lose my job. The last 2 years we had poor performance, so this year it's like it's do or die. I need to do well in order to make sure that next year I'm employed. So what happens? I do something that it might not be in their best interest, okay? All right? As a consequence, the financial manager might be willing to take unnecessary levels of risk to maximize personal gain, okay? I'm gaining by obviously keeping my job. I'm gaining by obviously receiving a bonus, okay? I'm gaining because you guys are going to give me shares in the business, okay? But at the expense of the business, okay? In contrast, a financial manager might not be willing to take on projects. So this is the opposite, right? It doesn't just apply to when I'm trying to maximize wealth, all right? Might be willing to take on projects or unnecessary risk if they are feeling insecure about their okay, guys, might take on too much risk or alternatively not take on any at all. So the other scenario is because I am feeling like I might take on risk and we might actually end up losing money. I'm saying, let me just play it safe. That's a problem, okay? But I should be doing the same. Let's assess the risk. Let's see how good is this opportunity, okay? All these actions place the objectives of the business, shareholders, and other stakeholders at jeopardy, and will incur shareholder wealth maximization. Why? Why are they going to put them at jeopardy? Because I'm focusing on myself. That's the agency problem. I'm focusing on myself and I'm not focusing on the business. What is my job? Shareholder wealth maximization or profit maximization. It's not about Aubrey's bank account. Okay, so can you see that's what the agency problem is all about. Okay, guys, and we're done for today. Okay, we are done. Are there any questions or thoughts? I do. It's just you. I'm joking. Look, I want it to be engaging, so I'm actually hoping that you guys kind of actually talk to me or ask me questions on some of the things we're talking about. But in certain instances, as we go along, we will actually probably